Well, what is Photon? Photon is a drop-in replacement for CouchDB well-known Photon, which is, as all we know, does not work in CouchDB 2.1. Photon, unlike Photon, works in CouchDB 2.1. Also, it works in, for example, Internet Explorer 11 and iPad. What is Photon? Photon is a single design document that can be copied inside any database in CouchDB, and then you just run index.html from this design document, and you have Photon running. So this is interface of Photon. We are not authorized right now, so let's authorize. We click in on this button, type in who we are, type in our password, and logging in. So we see we have our list of databases. We have tasks right here. You see, and we have one task. We see one of our tasks is not running, and we have several buttons. Let us tasks and databases are surely scrollable. You can reverse order, you can select all, I'll show it later, and so on. You see that here we have some internal subtabs. Unlike Photon, Photon does not open new browser tab for every click. It does not. So let us click at any database, for example, this one. We are clicking it. We see we have new subtab opened. We have list of our documents and so on. We can switch between our tabs. You see how our hash changes. And moreover, we can reload. You see, after reloading, Photon remembers all tabs that were opened. They are actually memoized in local storage and restored when you click reload or somehow open Photon in other way. So let us see. Let's start from, for example, creating DBs. You see, first of all, we can create several DBs. Let's try. Let's type AA2, for example, AA3. Oh, you see, it reminds us that database AA3 already exists, so we can just remove it. And for example, AA4. Now right here we can add some access control. So you see we can add, for example, any user as an administrator. Let's try to type. You see we have some kind of autocomplete and adding me. So you see, since we have not defined our members, we see orange button that reminds us that we create in public databases. If we type something here, you see our database is normal public, so the button becomes green. So let's make it public. You see, now we have two new DBs, A2 and A4. So we can, for example, try to delete them, but we shouldn't. We'll do it later. As for compact, you must select one or more DBs, for example 2, you see, and we can compact them both in a turn. Moreover, we can not only compact old revisions, we can simultaneously strip old views. That is not view compaction, that is stripping old view files. Moreover, we can add more DBs right here, you see. So if we now click Start Compaction, we'll have a compaction. We'll remove this too and Start Compaction. You see this database, and this database became much shorter. Also, we have some tasks. We had some tasks. So As for deleting databases, let's try to delete them. You see, here we also have a dialog, but our dialog is blocking. And here we cannot add more databases than we checked here to avoid accidental deletion. So this dialog behaves a little different than others. The only thing we can do is to reduce our list. So you see, and our dialog shows us that we are deleting one DB containing 1.5 megabytes of data, and it will free 1.5 megabytes of disk space. That is quite logical because we just compacted our database. So we cancel it. We don't want to delete it. So let us see, for example, other databases with a lot of documents. Let's start from wall. You see, we are opening new tab. We have pretty lot of documents here. We can select view, like in Photon. Moreover, we see that if we have some view with a radius function, it is somehow marked with a dot, and here we see octothorpe. It means that here we see here we have counter reduce function. If we had some, we'd see Greek Latin sigma, for example. Let us see how it works. Let us see something that have a lot of, for example, this view. This view is quite large, so it have thousands of rows. So you see scrolling is quite smooth and swift. And as you can see, here we have some special reflection of our JSONs. They are truncated to avoid cluttering. So here we see that text is truncated. Here we see that some nodes are truncated. Moreover, the truncation amount depends on how many rows we want to see. So if we, for example, want to see 500 rows, we'll have even more harsh reduction. We'll use no markup to avoid stalls during scrolling, because so many HTML markup just stalls, for example, Chrome, and what is surprisingly does not stalls Internet Explorer or Firefox. And if we, for example, choose 20 rows, so we see that our markup became much more detailed. So we can open close any row to see exact JSON that we received for this row. You see key, ID, value, and entire JSON. It's surely copyable. We can close it. So if we want to open document directly, we can click, you see, this small button, and we'll open our document. Next, limit. You see, there are plenty of them. Surely direction, and there is one interesting option: is start key. It does not exist in Photon, however, it exists in, for example, Photon. A little bit hidden in UI. In Photon, it's much more straightforward. So, for example, we want to start from this key. We can just click here, and now our view starts from this particular key, you see. And also we see that our start key is reflected in our hash, and also our amount of rows is also reflected in URL hash. If we change direction, we see that our hash again changed. So this URL is fully transferable. You can send it using, for example, email. So we can clear it. We can move, for example, forward, you see, and it changes started end key. We can clear it completely, and again, you see, we can move forward and backward, and our hash again changes. So it's for view. from view we can surely open our database directly. We have our database, and we can open design document. You see, this is our design document with functions, validate, doc update, and so on. So let us see how access control and compaction works. Here for our database, now it's, you see, well, we can set an ACL. You see, we now have one, but unlike Photon, we can add here more databases. For example, a database A4 that we just created, and now clicking set security, we are actually cloning our ACL from database wall to database A4. Let's see how it works. Let's see database A4. You see, now database A4, which was public, has admin in members. So we actually cloned ACL. So it's not, it works not just for changing ACL for one single DB, it works in groups also. As for compact, we can compact only this particular database because this database have views, and we can also compact views. For example, we can select design documents, several at a time, and compact them all. Moreover, we can compact our database, we can strip old views, and we can also compact views in 3 design documents. So Photon makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll make 5 requests to achieve our goals. So we'll cancel it. Let's see how search works. For example, let's open this long, where it is, post by ID. We have search here. So we can search not only by key, but also by, let's make it a bit longer, but also by content. So let's try to find something, well, I'll type in Russian. Let's, example, type something like this. You see, it works pretty swiftly, and it shows us for 16 rows that have these words somewhere within, not in keys, because if it had this word in keys will be keys are somehow highlighted. You see, we have to open our JSON to see where our word was found. You see, here it is, or for example, here it is, and so on. Here it is. So we can now, let's search for something like this. You see how our keys are shown. You see. So search also works in DBs. Let's type, I'm sorry, AA, and see our AA prefix DBs. So it's about search. Let's see how we can work with particular documents. I have Photon database opened, and I have design Photon. You see, design Photon, and I can open it right here and see its code actually. So you see, I open it like a document. I see attachments here. I see index.html. If I click now, I'll have Photon opened in another tab. Oops, you see. For example, let's open Apple icon. You see, we have an Apple icon, and so on. We have pretty large branch apps, which actually contains both apps. So attachments of design doc Photon contain only libraries, plugins, CSS files, and images. Actual application code is located right inside design document. You see, CW Photon is Photon itself. it have quite a lot of branches. You see arrays, objects, and so on. Functions, we see that functions are pretty nice markup and surely editable. Here escape works. We can type something and press Command Enter for Mac. You see now we have blue button that we've changed our document. So now if we'll try to close it, we'll have this kind of notification that we've changed our document, and we should think a little. Should we proceed? Or we cancel it. Let's change it again, change it back, and you'll see that our blue dots disappeared. So because now document is identical to what we have fetched from DB. So we can edit JSON by branches. You see, we can take any branch and, for example, change anything. Let's add a field x123. Notice I'm not writing correct JSON. Moreover, I can write, for example, 1, 2, 3 split. I can write in this way, and I'll have an array in my JSON. So you see, I can now replace this branch, or I can now extend it. Let's replace it. You see, we'll have now 2 additional keys that we just inserted. So let's close it. Closing tab. So let's create, for example, new document. Oh, I've closed it a bit too early. I haven't shown you that we have revisions here. Moreover, we have not only active branch revisions, but we also have conflicts. You see, red marks, these revisions are conflicts. Let's try to delete it. If I click delete, one of conflicts, you see. A delete button allows me not only to plainly delete entire document, but it allows me also to retain entire content of a document, adding just key deleted. So I can make my choice, and then, for example, proceed. Oh, yes, I have just deleted one of conflicting revisions. You see, I have now not 5 but 4 of them. So it's about revisions. Let me show you. Let's, for example, modify this document. I'm gonna add a field, prepend, and if I now click save, I surely have document saved. Stop. New document. Well, creating a new document is pretty straightforward. ABC. Let's, for example, add more fields in this way. Type test. See, x is array, and so on. I replace. Now we can attach some files. We can attach several files at a time. For example, let's touch this through 4. You see, we can rename them right here. So, for example, we can write something like this, that, and now click attach. You see, we have all of them. They are not clickable. So we can now save doc, and we are done. So we have them in our database. Let's, for example, delete it. You see, we've deleted our doc. So what I haven't shown, well, I haven't shown how reduce works. Let's see how reduce works. We have here reduce function. You see, our view have new group of controls, and selecting level of reduction, we see our case become different. It's pretty plain. Here we can also navigate back and forward. So let's see how, for example, new sync works. Creating new replication can be done in three ways. It can be one time, it can be a continuous task, or it can be a forever doc. If we select forever doc, we can, we have to choose our doc name, doc ID for replicated DB. Let's type something, ABCD. Let's replicate our database. Let's remove ACL from here, first of all, and let's replicate our database. You see here, autocomplete to AA2. So we can select, also type something like, if we want to sync only some docs, not entire DB on, we can write filter function, or so on, if we had one. So if we now click create doc and start, we'll create a doc in replicated DB, and we have replication started. Let's do it. Let's see. Oh, we have our task running, you see. We have new task, and we have it running. Moreover, clicking right here on a link, we'll see our document in replicated database. You see. We can always look for an error. You see, I have this database with an error because I intentionally entered wrong credentials. You see, I have tips with credentials, and I surely can again open this document and see that our database reported that we have authorization error. So let's talk about config. Config of CouchDB is located here, this small button. It basically opens our config in JSON editor and allows us to change it not only in a per row basis, but also by group. You see, we can, for example, type 7 here, type replace, and you see changes column reported that we have one update. Our tab reports us that we have updates. You see blue dot, and we have changed something. If we change more fields and then click save, all our changes are applied to config simultaneously. It works not as like Photon, where you change a key and it is immediately sent to database. Because here we can even change our entire config. Or we can maybe, for example, remove entire branch, you see, to delete it, and so on. So let's close it. It again notifies us that something changed, and we now close tab. No, we didn't save it. Final feature is instant update. So we here see a small button with something not very readable. Let's click it. You see, here we have some information about our local node, you see, and about our Photon version. We can immediately download this particular version of Photon as a JSON document, for example, to install it to another node, or we can check updates. Let's check updates. You see, now Photon checked updates at Amazon S3 CDN storage, discovered that the existing version, and it asks us, are we going to update? Let's proceed. That's all. It's about 1.5 megabytes. Zip compressed, it's about 600 of kilobytes. So 600 of kilobytes, and you are updated. So we can now just reload tab and see that now we have built 25. Just before we had built 23. That is basically all about Photon.